Hi beautiful creatures, welcome back. As you can see by my plushy octopus being present here today, I'm going to be talking about The Soul of an Octopus, the book by Sy Montegomary that we're reading this month as a part of a book club. Now, if you follow me on Instagram and you've seen some of my posts, you know that I have not been able to put this book down at all. So I don't know whether or not we're going to have this as a book club thing, because I have apparently decided that I want to read, over 100 pages in a day. It happened in one day and then I had to tell myself to stop. So I'm up to the chapter Eggs. So anyway, oops, that happened, because this book, from the moment it began, it talks about my favorite animal in the whole entire world, the octopus, and it talks about it in such a beautiful way that you really feel amazed and in awe of these miraculous alien-like creatures, and I don't know, I just couldn't put it down. And her writing style is really easy to read, even though she does put a lot of scientific facts and stuff in there. She tends to meld it with her own true accounts and her own true stories, but you feel like the octopi, or octopuses, because that is the plural, they have their own personalities, and I really love that about this book. It gives you, it tells you how alien they are, and then it gives you a way to relate to that alienness, that weirdness, that wonderfulness. So that's my journey so far with this book. I did want to read a little section of it for you guys so you get a feel of it, and you get a sense of how she melds the idea of consciousness with the octopus, something that's so different from us that you wouldn't think, they're highly intelligent creatures and you wouldn't think that they would have a consciousness, and this is the whole question, I guess, that's posed throughout the book. So yeah, I got totally hooked, so I'm up to the chapter Eggs, and I think what we're going to do is, if you guys feel really hooked like I am with this book, you just go ahead and read about 100 pages or more, read into Eggs, sounds weird, read into that chapter and we'll figure it out from there. If you come across a particular passage like I have and you want to talk about it in discussion, then feel free. Similarly, if you come up with an interesting fact that you didn't know and you want to post it on Instagram or on your blog and start the discussion that way, then that'd be cool too. So with my octopi here, I would like to read you this little section. So she talks about multiple octopi that she's encountered throughout her life. And unfortunately she didn't know the first one, Athena, for very long, and they all have the most amazing names, guys. And so this is about the octopus Octavia. So if you haven't read this far, then maybe just close your ears. But it's not like, close your ears, it's not that, I don't know, telling, I guess. So they're talking about some strange behavior that's going on with Octavia. And it starts like this. Okay, they're talking about Octavia and strange behavior. Just to set the scene, Octavia is the octopus. So I don't want to burden Wilson with my distress. Wilson is the guy that works at the aquarium. After all, he is facing the same issue, whose situation is tragic as well as mysterious. So he's talking about his wife, and the octopus is having this strange issue, and she's afraid that the octopus is going to die. Wilson and I stand and watch the octopus silent. Is Octavia thinking anything at all, and if so, could I understand her thoughts? What is going on in the separate, holy, mysterious, private theatre of these minds? Can we ever know the inner experiences of another? Learning, attention, memory, perception, these are all measurable, relatively accessible, amenable to study. But consciousness, says Australian philosopher David Chalmers, is the hard problem, precisely because it is so private to each inner self. Other philosophers suggest that the self is an idea without basis. Science does not need an inner self, writes psychologist Susan Blackmore, but most people are quite sure we are one. The self, Blackmore writes, is just a fleeting impression that arises with each experience and fades away again. There is no inner self, she argues, only multiple parallel processes that give rise to a benign inner delusion, a useful fiction. She argues that consciousness itself is a fiction. The Buddha denied the existence of persisting selves. At the end of life, the self may dissolve into eternity like salt in the ocean. To some this might seem distressing, but to lose the lonely self in the ocean of eternity could also be a release, an enlightenment, as the mystics promise. So I really like that, and there are some really beautiful passages in which she links consciousness and octopi and stuff like that. And I've learned actually a lot about octopuses. I should start saying octopuses, but I like the sound of octopi. And how they play and how they show different behaviors as well, which not even I knew, and I'm like the world's biggest octopus nerd. And I just really loved it. She talks about like the life cycle as well, you know, and how octopi look after their eggs, which is like siphoning them and brushing them to clean them, and that when an octopus hatches, it is literally a fully formed octopus the size of a grain of rice, and that they're, you know, they grow rapidly, so they can survive, obviously, out there. But the fact that they hatch and grow so fast is also dependent on, like, water temperature and food source and all that kind of stuff. But just the way that she interacts with them, you know, she talks about putting her hands in the tank and having the tentacles, like, hold on to her. It's like she is, you know, that's how they sense, is through, like, their tentacles and their suckers, because their brains aren't just in one part of their body, their brains are all over their body. And that's how they they taste and they sense and they, you know, and so I just thought that was absolutely amazing, and I really want to touch an octopus now and connect with one, because that would be awesome. So I am absolutely loving this book so far. I can't get enough of it. I'm going to read more of it today and maybe post little updates. I think there was another chapter or another little thing in here that I wanted to read for you. Oh yeah, she talks about how there are anacondas in this aquarium too, and how only one person managed to, when she started working with the anacondas from when they were babies, it was because she had a total sense of this fearlessness, and that is really what contributes to when you interact with any sort of wild animal or any animal that's alien to your own. And she kind of talks about something that's a bit taboo in the scientific world, which is to say that other creatures have integrity, emotional intelligence. They can interact with us and they understand us too when we interact with them. And of course we know this to be true with dogs and cats and stuff. But she goes on to, you know, challenge that octopuses, you know, have this intelligence. Reptiles have this intelligence. Turtles, you can train. She talked about training the eel to be outside more because they like to lurk in caves. So one of the keepers trained the eel to hang outside with with like a food trigger. And it's just like such a wonderful thing to say, hey, this is such a scientific taboo, but why is it? It's like, we know this to be true when you talk to your cat or your dog and they look at you and they understand you. And apparently, octopi are the only other creature, apart from dogs, that can do this amazing thing, right? Not any other animal doesn't get it, but if you are a person and, for example, they can't find food, this goes for dogs and dog treats and stuff, if you point like to where the food is, dogs are the only ones that are going to follow the direction of where you've pointed to find the food if they can't find it for themselves. Octopi have displayed exactly the same behavior. So she was talking about how there was a woman who owned a small octopus, and the octopus was having trouble finding where the crab was in the enclosure, and so the woman would track her finger down and the octopus would follow the finger until she found the crab. And I just thought that that was the most amazing, spectacular thing, and if that is any evidence to the intelligence of octopi, it's right there for you. So I hope that if you're reading this book and you've always had a bit of a creepy fear of octopi, you think, oh, gross, slimy, like why would I ever be attracted to that? Maybe give this book a go, because she really paints them in a different light, in a way that you view them as alien. And sure, they're slimy, but as she puts it, slime is good for their environment, you know. And there are two things that we really enjoy doing as humans that involve copious amounts of slime. Think about it. And yes, I'm really in love with this book. I'm in love with how much I'm learning through this book. I love the way that it's written. It makes me want to read a lot more Sy Montegomary. And I thought I would show you all my little plushy octopus collection and talk about octopi. until the next installment of The Soul of an Octopus. I'm not sure what chapters we'll be reading, but if you have any comments or anything, please leave them down below. If I've intrigued you about octopi, there are so many YouTube videos, go out and watch them. And also it's the reason why I don't eat octopus. I have very strong beliefs about certain things that I don't eat, and that includes shark and octopus and other creatures. So yes, I will see you all. Sorry, I got so lost just then. I was like, octopus, 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 octopus. I'm probably creeping you out now. Okay, I'll see you all in the next video, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!